this is real. This is what we've lived. Anger is the sharpest tongue. Anger is the sharpest tongue. Anger is the...
Hello, my name is Gabby Santos, and I'm the Program Coordinator for Underserved Communities with the Oregon Coalition Against Domestic and Sexual Violence. I am also a founder of the Gender Positive Systems Advocacy Committee, GPSAC. We formed in 2009 to uplift the voices of transgender and gender nonconforming survivors of domestic and sexual violence. We believe that being gender positive takes a more proactive role in creating safe spaces for all gender identities and all gender expressions. We are beyond gender neutral in that we challenge ourselves and others to think about inclusion and supporting everybody's right to the freedom of gender expression, regardless of where they are at in their transitioning, whether they choose to transition medically, physically, socially, legally.
So my name is Cecily Griffiths. I'm an advocate and a prevention educator with the Safe Choice program at YWCA Clark County, which is in Washington, Washington State. And I have been a member of GPSAC for the past 3 years. I believe it's been about 3 years. And GPSAC, as a member of GPSAC, I'm really excited about the possibility of expanding my knowledge as well as bringing this knowledge. And GPSAC...
I'm Michael Halsef-Schmidt, and I too am a member of GPSAC. And I think it's really important to get the message out there that men need to be involved in this movement because the population is so disproportionately affected. In other words, women are far more likely to suffer sexual and domestic violence. And then if you look at the intersections of oppression, you look at transgender, gender nonconforming, and people of color who are further oppressed by sexual and domestic violence. I think it's also important to address the fact that domestic and sexual violence also happens within same-sex couples. We need to raise our voices individually and collectively to stop domestic and sexual violence.
Recognize that transgender and gender nonconforming communities face higher risks of sexual assault. There are definitely more risk factors when your gender expression does not match the traditional female-male model. GPSAC would like to continue the prevention work, and we need your help. Throughout the state, we have helped programs become more gender positive in their advocacy efforts. They have been asking for additional tools, and we have the opportunity to attend a national conference that is coming up in 2013. This is through the network La Red, a national organization that specializes in LGBT advocacy, and they are out of Boston. GPSAC team would like to attend this conference in order to bring back some helpful tools to Oregon advocates. Please lend your support and donate whatever you can. Thank you.
Anger is the sharpest tongue. Anger is the sharpest tongue. Anger is the sharpest tongue. Truth might spear. It's okay if you don't follow our ways. We'll just medicate you, diagnose you with disease, and once you're fully numb and your body is not yours.
Recently, we learned that there's such a high number of harassment and discrimination and bias crimes in schools and in other public services. 92% of youth in schools reported being sexually harassed based on their gender expression alone. And 74% of trans youth in a national study reported being harassed in school. This is a high number. This is an extreme number. Numbers like this are really red flags and signs that advocates like us, the folks that are doing this work, really, we need to step up. We need to take the responsibility to end this kind of discrimination and crime and inequity.
As a man, it is my job to become an ally to help stop sexual domestic violence. But as a gay man, I am further obligated. But I think we need to put a call out to all men to become allies and to receive trainings, to receive education. I think we are part responsible to create gender parity and gender equity. And by doing this, we have the potential to stop misogyny. And then if you look...
We coined the term gender positive. We believe that we must be more proactive in creating safe spaces for all gender identities and all gender expressions. It's not enough to sit back and hide behind the gender neutral signs. We must work on inclusion and be able to support someone in exercising their right to identify as a woman, to identify as a man, to go stealth, to identify as gender nonconforming.
The National Health Institute report in June 2011 showed a 20% higher risk of sexual violence towards folks who are gender nonconforming and transgender.
When men can step up to the plate and we use our own power and our own privilege, and we can identify that and we say, you know what, it is our responsibility to use this power and privilege to stop domestic and sexual violence. We as a community stand together and we stand with solidarity.
We cannot end domestic and sexual violence with just a gender-based analysis. We must include the anti-racism work. We must include being allies to people with disabilities, both invisible and physical. We must also address how people with different nationalities, ethnicities, spiritualities are being targeted in ways that dominant culture is not. And in the umbrella of transgender and gender nonconforming communities, we address culturally specific services, and our allies are a big piece to carrying that work forward.
Why this number is so high is so complex because within the trans community and gender nonconforming community, there's so much variety. There are so many intersections a lot of times with race, class, ethnicity, religion, economic status, ability, age, and other types of barriers, and intersectional minority statuses, which really complicate the issue of how do we better serve this community? How do we work to end gender-based violence towards this community? Because really this is a gendered issue. Real or perceived gender expression, if that is variant in any way, shape, or form from the mainstream binary, you are at risk. You are at risk for some kind of violence or oppression. And that's not how things should be.
GPSAC is unique in that we apply an intersectional analysis to our work. What we mean by that is that we cannot end domestic and sexual violence by just using a gender-based framework. We must also address racism, poverty, ableism, spiritual dominance. All these forms of oppression are part of the root causes and why violence continues in our communities. And in order to address that, we must look at the historical underpinnings. Through our work with GPSAC and other community partners, such as the Communities of Color Task Force, we really have demonstrated a presence on a statewide level that we are not tolerating any form of racism or transphobia, homophobia, ableism, anything that is going to contribute to the risk factors that lead to domestic and sexual violence.
And we've seen an increase from 2 programs in 2009 who had gender-positive shelters specific to survivors of domestic and sexual violence to up to 7 programs opening up their doors and redoing their programs to become more gender positive in, throughout Eugene, Washington County, Clark County, Multnomah County, even Idaho. There's folks all over the Pacific Northwest that have grown and expanded their services towards gender nonconforming and trans folks through the work that GPSAC has done. So really the goal of attending a conference such as the Screening Tool Training Conference is to increase the amount of equity and safety for trans and gender nonconforming folks in services, whether that's shelter, other types of social services, schools, other public spaces, public bathrooms, simple things that folks, the systems that folks move through every day in their everyday life. These are the spaces that are, when folks are, we really need to make this work happen.
I thank all of you. I think if you are able to donate any type of money for further trainings and further education, I would strongly encourage you to donate whatever money you're able to, $5, $10, $100, $500. It will make a huge difference in our ability to reach all of the Pacific Northwest in doing education and different types of trainings.
We would like to build GPSAC capacity in the support and training and technical assistance that we provide programs and community partners throughout Oregon. Any help, any contribution, and any support from you is greatly appreciated. Thank you, and we challenge you to be more gender positive.
As I speak out, I am healed. As I act, I am healed. As I rise up, I am healed. As I rise up, I am healed. As I rise up, I am healed. As I take back my power.